BearTalk is produced by the Golden Bear Gazette, Mount Juliet High School students' newspaper.
Hello, my fellow creatures. I'm Marzella, and welcome back to BearTalk.
I'm your host, Jackson.
And I'm your host, Everett.
In today's episode, we will be discussing dogs. And we'll be continuing some segments, including a club highlights segment with ASL for Deaf Awareness Month with Marzella, Corey Dalton, Sarah Blackburn, and Miss McCommon. An esports interview with Cade and me. and a segment of Can You Dig It with Ren Lindy and Molly Harris.
Anyways, so since this month is National Service Dog Month, here's some service animal etiquette. Numero uno. No, I took French. I don't know Spanish. Don't touch the dog without asking permission first.
Don't.
Consent is key.
Consent is key.
We are on the same track. And keep your own dog a distance away from a working dog. A working dog. What does that even mean?
A working dog. A dog at work.
Dog. Don't offer food to a service dog. That is no bueno because you don't know what they can and cannot have. And some owners are really strict about that.
What if it's allergic?
Exactly. That's why you don't give a food. That's why you don't give a mouse a cookie. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
The service mouse?
Yeah, the service mouse. Treat the owner or handler with sensitivity and respect. So always be kind and ask before you can do anything. Oh, and don't assume a napping service dog is off duty. It is still, in fact, on the duty.
On the duty. 24/7.
Always on the duty. Mm-hmm. He's whipped his banana out.
Say that.
Everett,
You can't say that.
are you eating a banana on the podcast?
No.
Okay.
Put your banana away.
Everett, have you ever touched a service dog without permission?
I've never touched a service dog, period.
You've never touched a service dog, period?
Period.
I don't know if I believe that. I feel like the type of person to be like, ooh, doggy.
I sometimes pet dogs, but dogs kind of scare me. I got messed up with one.
What about you?
We got in a bit of a tussle.
Weekly
bit of a tussle with them.
Every week we got some bad memory with something that we're talking about.
There's crocodile service animals.
Have you pet a crocodile service animal?
Pet a crocodile. I have not pet any of these. Monkeys, nor pigs, nor ponies.
You've never pet a pony?
Have
you ever been to a fair? A carnival?
I don't like fairs.
A farm?
We talked about this, how I don't like
Everett
fairs and
doesn't like
carnivals.
the fair.
Oh, true.
He got lost.
Poor guy. Before we sit down with the ASL Club, here is a word from our sponsors. If you haven't gotten a yearbook yet, you're going to want one. There are many things that you'll remember about this year, and there are many things that make this year memorable.
As you make memories this year and overcome challenges, we encourage you to always remember by purchasing a 2023 yearbook.
Current prices are $85 plus tax. Please visit room B118 to get yours today. Buy a yearbook.
Buy a yearbook.
Make the most of it.
Remember all of it.
The golden leaf. Hey guys, I'm Marzella, and this is the club highlight, and today I'm here with the ASL Club. If you'd like to introduce yourselves.
Sure, I'm Miss McCommon. I am one of the club sponsors. I also teach both math and English.
Hi, I'm Sarah Blackburn.
I'm Corey Dalton. I'm the president of ASL Club.
Oh yeah, the president, one and only. So just a question for whoever wants to answer. How did your connection with the deaf or hard of hearing community begin?
So technically I was a part of the deaf community when I was diagnosed at 3 years old, but I really started connecting with the deaf community when I started having a full-time interpreter at school, and that really started my journey as a deaf person.
So really I haven't really met anyone besides you and me that has hearing loss, but I was diagnosed in 6th grade, and Wilson County Schools actually found my hearing loss with the health screenings, and I failed it the year before, and then I failed it in 6th grade, and somehow it was in the summer, and we were just like, okay, it's probably just because you've been in the pool a lot, and then we finally went to the audiologist, and I got hearing aids.
I didn't encounter or meet the first person who was deaf until I started actually working here at Mount Juliet High School, working in a self-contained special education room. And And so ever since I met that student, I just found a love and appreciation and wanted to talk with her and learn about her. And that's how it started for me about 2 years ago.
That's amazing. Yeah, same for me. I've always wanted to be able to communicate with as many people as I can, whether that's in a different language or my language or just any way I can to make them feel included. So Corey, what is some advice you would give someone who is trying to communicate or connect with someone who is deaf?
So I have quite a few things. The first thing that I would say is if they have an interpreter, don't talk to the interpreter. That happened a couple nights ago with me at band, and the person that I was talking to was talking to the interpreter that I had, and it made me feel like I wasn't included in the conversation, and you never want somebody to feel that way. So you always want to make sure that you're talking to them and the interpreter's just kind of like in the background. And then another thing, everyone should know how to fingerspell, because if you don't know signs, you can still fingerspell and communicate with a deaf person. And if you don't know how to fingerspell, you can write it down. That's always a good way to communicate. And don't get tired of trying to communicate with a deaf person. Always, I can guarantee that it's harder for them than it is harder for you. And so you always need to make sure that you are making sure that they're feeling like they're not a burden.
And if I could add on to that too, don't assume that everyone who is deaf or hard of hearing can read your lips. I believe about 30% of the alphabet is visible on the lips alone, something like that. But also, if pen and paper aren't available, we have these beautiful things called a phone where you could just type it out. So it's really just making the effort to make someone feel included. It's really easy once you just learn how to do that.
Say somebody's trying to communicate and they don't know that much ASL. What is some advice if that person wants to learn ASL?
Well, I'm gonna put a shameless plug in here.
Hey.
I started an ASL club last year, and we start from the beginning and work our way through signs. I think now we're on sentence structure. And so that's always a super easy way. I teach it. Ms. McCommon helps. And then I've always recommended starting with the alphabet, because with the alphabet, you can start to add on with signs, but then if you don't know the sign for something, you can always just fingerspell it.
Yeah, I'd honestly just say if you're trying to learn ASL, go to a hard of hearing or deaf person that knows ASL. That's probably the easiest way to learn.
Just like any language, immersing yourself, meeting someone who knows the language is always going to benefit you in picking it up quicker. The longer you stay in something, the more you practice, the better at it you get. And once you know the basics, it just starts becoming easier and easier.
That's right, and it's pretty much like muscle memory. It's kind of hard in the beginning, and then once you start, just practice every day. It's like trying to learn a new instrument or something like that, just a new hobby. Once you start in the day, when I'm in my car, it's probably not the safest thing to do since my hands are supposed to be on the steering wheel, but I try to fingerspell the first letter of every word of the song I'm listening to. So that's just how I've tried to become more comfortable with it. But as Sarah mentioned, the best way is just surround yourself with people who are deaf or in the hard of hearing community, and you can do that by joining us in room C119 from 3:45 to 4:30. And just to close out, since this is Deaf Awareness Month, are there any facts or words that you would like to give?
Yeah, so one thing that I always found interesting, there's around 70 million people that have sign language as their first language. If you heard on the announcements yesterday, ASL is most similar to French Sign Language, and there's many different kinds of sign language. I've met people who know English Sign Language, it's really cool.
There's many in the United States alone, including like Black American Sign Language. So there's 300 different variations alone.
Yeah.
Multiple even in the United States.
Now, just to follow up, does that get irritating? Like, is it close or?
So some of them are close, but it's like speaking Spanish. So like there's American Sign Language and then there's Spanish Sign Language. So it's like it's their vocabulary, but just in sign language form. So it's not really irritating. It's just, I think it's cool how there's like so many different. It's like languages, because it is a language. But like, I think it's cool.
It all comes back to your basics.
Yeah.
If you can fingerspell, you could probably speak a multitude of sign languages.
And then one last thing that I want to bring up, ASL is not signed English. It has its own like sentence structure. So like, what's your name is what you would say in English, but when you sign it, you would sign it as your name what's, which I always found really cool.
Also, a fun fact, not all hard of hearing or deaf people know sign language. So,
Nor can they all lip read.
yeah.
So, never
And
assume.
about the lip reading, as a person who has had to lip read for years, it is very overwhelming at times, because you're trying to follow a conversation and you're only getting parts of the conversation, and then your brain is like filling in the other parts, and then you're not getting the full like what everybody's saying. And it's also really hard on your eyes and your brain to try and figure all that out.
Sarah, did you have any thoughts or advice?
I'd say if you're trying to talk to someone, take it slow, maybe speak a little bit louder, and make sure you enunciate what you're saying.
All right, thank you guys so much. That was very enlightening. I hope that whoever this reaches will become more sensitive and more involved into trying to communicate with someone who's deaf or hard of hearing. And thank you guys for being here.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, yeah. Right on.
Sports Court is now in session. Hi, I'm Kay Dwyer.
And I'm Jackson Farley.
And on today's session of Sports Court, we'll be interviewing Michael Cachuela and Mr. Lawrence about the MJHS esports team. Good morning, guys. How are y'all?
Doing well. How about you? I mean, yeah, doing pretty good. It's been pretty chill, I guess. Nice.
Good. Just to start us off this morning, what is the MJHS sports team about?
Well, I'll just say that Mount Juliet Esports prides itself on trying to take our talents to their maximum. You know, you have people that play on the side, you know, go out and game, do their thing in the afternoons, just kind of chill and relax with it. That's not really what we're about. I mean, obviously we want to have fun, but really this is about pursuing excellence.
Right.
We want to be the best we can possibly be. We treat this like any other sport, you know, trying to achieve the maximum of what we can do.
Gotcha.
I do really agree with that. I used to really play on the side, but after meeting Mr. Lawrence, he just kind of convinced me to join the MJ esports team. So it was really cool, and I actually got better. So I really thank him about that.
So, Mr. Lawrence, what are your practices like?
Practice is really about trying to get us to the top of our game. For Rocket League, obviously it changes from game to game, but for Rocket League, we get into sets of 3 and have our guys play against other skilled players, just trying to increase their field awareness, get their skills up, make sure they have good cohesion as a team, you know, just trying to do anything we can to improve our play. For Smash Bros, it's about trying to see where the weaknesses are in a particular player and their character and trying to shore those up as much as we can. You know, if a guy's not good at handling ranged characters, then we have somebody play against somebody who's good at range. Just shoring up those weaknesses.
So, Michael, what's it like for you as someone that's like a player? What are those practices like?
Those practices are actually pretty well. I actually find out a lot more about how I play when facing people that I'm weak against, and it really just helps me become a better player in general. So I think that these practices actually help me get a lot better and perform better during tournaments and stuff.
Right. And Michael, what are some unique challenges esports players face?
I just think esports players tend to be usually really like far and spread because you're playing from people from the West Coast to the East Coast.
Right.
I mean, you could be playing from someone from Washington State all the way to New York.
Yeah.
I mean, it's really crazy. But also, I think it just tends to be that because technology tends to do things like break or go to disastrous situations, you can have like the perfect setup, but if the other person you're facing just doesn't have that, it's just hard to perform at your best level.
For sure. And Mr. Lawrence, how do you see that from a coach's perspective? What are some unique challenges that your players face?
Well, I would say that players often face the idea that parents or other adults don't take this sport quite as seriously as they do as some in-person sports.
Right.
You know, here in the South, football is the culture. You know, everybody knows the football team. Everybody's familiar with what the basketball team's up to. Not so much with esports.
Right.
So I'm trying to get more recognition for our players and make sure that they're taken seriously for being the excellent performers that they are.
Yeah. So last year we had a senior, Hampton Lackey, who actually signed with Cumberland and got a scholarship for this whole organization. What are your thoughts on that? And do you think there's a chance that someone else could get to that level?
You know, obviously, I'm thrilled that one of our seniors was able to sign with Cumberland. That's a huge opportunity and really kind of points to the heart of what this organization is trying to accomplish.
For sure.
Giving students the chance to perform at the highest possible level. Hamp was a great player. He put up a lot of awesome skills as part of our team, was a major points scorer on our team. I think there's a decent chance that we're going to see a situation like Hamp's happen again. You know, we've got a lot of really skilled people as part of our Rocket League team, and I could say with firsthand experience, some of our Smash players are phenomenal. So I have high hopes.
Thank you guys for coming out, Michael and Mr. Lawrence. This was really nice to actually get to have some one-on-one conversations about this.
Happy to. Thanks for having us out.
Yeah, thank you. It was really cool to talk about what we do, actually.
And that concludes today's session of Sports Court.
Welcome to Can You Dig It, the segment all about everything fashion and music. I'm Molly.
I'm Ren.
And we're missing Jordan this week, which is very sad.
But she'll definitely be here for the next one. Today we'll be talking about our favorite bands and their performances. My favorite band is Fleetwood Mac, and they're a rock band that was formed in London in 1967. The band was founded by guitarist Peter Green, drummer Mick Fleetwood, and guitarist Jeremy Spencer. Then John McVie joined as their bassist, Danny Kirwan joined as their third guitarist in 1968, and Christine Perfect joined the band in 1970 as their keyboardist and vocalist after contributing as a session musician for the second album. Christine also married John McVie and became Christine McVie. Their first hit song was Albatross, which scored a UK #1, and all three of their guitarists left in the early 70s, but were replaced by Bob Welch, Bob Weston, and vocalist Dave Walker. Then, by 1974, all three of those new additions had left.
Oop. That's so foul. We should take that out.
Yeah, okay. And that left the band without a male leading vocalist or guitarist.
But who needs men anyways?
No, for real, they could have just kept my girl Christine. But anyways, that's when they found the American folk rock duo Lindsey Buckingham and Stevie Nicks. They asked Buckingham if he could be their new lead guitarist, and he agreed, but only on the condition that Nicks could also join.
He's a real one for that.
For real. And with the addition of Buckingham and Nicks, they released their self-titled album in 1975, which reached the #1 in the US. In 1977, the band released their second album, Rumors, and this album produced 4 US top 10 singles and stayed at #1 on America's album charts for 31 weeks. We'll get to years later. And the album reached the top spot in several countries around the world and won the band a Grammy for Album of the Year in 1978. This is one of the best-selling albums in world history, with over 40 million copies worldwide. Personally, my favorite songs on the album are Never Going Back Again and The Chain. There's been a lot of drama with the band, with different breakups like Nicks and Buckingham, John and Christine McVie, and Fleetwood and his wife, but overall the band stuck together making music, even then. But the members came and gone with the years, and by the late 80s most of them were leaving. Then in 93, several of the members reunited for a performance at Bill Clinton's inauguration. And then a full reunion happened 4 years later in 97 for the release of their hit album, The Dance. Over the years, band has had several reunions and music come out. To this day, their songs are still popular and high on charts. And some of my favorite songs of theirs are Silver Springs, specifically the live version, Storms, Landslide, Songbird, and Rihanna. My favorite performance of theirs is the Silver Springs performance of 1997. And it was an iconic concert, one of my favorite performances of all time. The song itself was written by Nix and intended to be on Rumors. She got the idea when driving past a sign for Silver Springs, Maryland. She thought it sounded like a happy town and imagined it as a happy version of what her and Buckingham could have been.
Could have been. Could have been.
Yeah, the song wasn't on the album Rumors, but when the band reunited to perform the album in 1997, it was also a song. When watching this performance of the song, you can see Nick start singing directly to Buckingham at around 3 minutes and 30 seconds. They both keep eye contact as she sings at him. The performance is intense and you can feel the history between them. And she sings the lyrics, "You'll never get away from the sound of a woman that loved you." And it's almost such a haunting lyric, especially since she originally wrote that lyric in the 70s and she's still singing it to him now in the 90s. So overall, if you've not watched this performance of the song or even heard it before, then you should totes listen to it because it's so super good. Trust me.
Speaking of Miss Stevie Nicks, we both happen to be seeing her in concert next month.
Yes! We are so excited. Anyways, what's your favorite band, Molly?
Well, Ren, my favorite band is Guns N' Roses, and they're a hair metal band.
Does that mean they have really good hair?
That's exactly what that means, actually.
Wow.
But they formed in LA in 1985, and there was different variations of the band before then. But the official lineup was the lead singer Axl Rose, who I named my dog after, drummer Steven Adler, bassist Duff McKagan, rhythm guitarist Izzy Stradlin, and lead guitarist Slash.
I like the name. It's so cool. Slash.
But Axl and Izzy grew up together in Indiana and moved to LA separately. Steve Adler and Slash met in middle school and had been close friends since then. And then Duff was just a punk rock guy from Seattle who had been in tons of punk bands before he moved to LA. This lineup of Guns is my favorite because they were so young and basically self-destructive, but their performances at this time were insane. I was there to see any. But they played Sunset Strip venues like the Whiskey, the Roxy, the Starwood, and the Troubadour, which is actually where they got discovered by a record label representative, leading to them signing with Geffen Records. Their first official album was Appetite for Destruction and was released in 1987. The album is the best-selling debut album of all time, and it sold 18 million copies in the US alone and 30 million copies worldwide. Appetite stayed at number 1 on the Billboard charts for 4 consecutive weeks and remained on the chart for 147 weeks. Take that, Fleetwood Mac.
Okay, that's a little more than Fleetwood Mac.
The album featured songs like Sweet Child of Mine, Welcome to the Jungle, and Paradise City. My favorite songs off the album are My Michelle, Rocket Queen, and It's So Easy. After Appetite came the EP G in Our Lives in 1988, which was more of an acoustic approach to their songs, and it also got them in trouble with a controversial song called 1 in a Million. After Lies came the Illusion albums, which were both full-length double albums called Use Your Illusion 1 and Use Your Illusion 2. They were the first albums without drummer Steven Adler, who was replaced with Matt Sorum, who is the drummer for The Cult.
Sorum, more like sore arm.
That was a really good joke, Red.
I know.
In the late 90s, after the Illusion tour ended, there was lots of drama within the band and they ended up breaking up. Axl and Slash had pretty much no contact with each other until they decided to rebuild their friendship in 2015. Duff, Slash, and Axl reunited and began the Not in This Lifetime tour in 2016 and have been on the road together ever since. The reunion tour is one of the most successful tours of all time, making more than $584 million from 2016 to 2019. My favorite show of them is The Ritz in 1988. It's one of their most famous concerts, and MTV actually recorded it and did a special on it. They played 11 songs, most of them from Appetite, but they also did 2 covers, Knockin' on Heaven's Door by Bob Dylan and Mama Kin by Aerosmith. The show featured all the original band members at their best. There's a really great energy that comes with this performance, and this show has one of my favorite versions of Rocket Queen in it. Also during the show, Axl and Slash both ended up stage diving, which is crazy. Mm-hmm. But if you haven't listened to Guns N' Roses, you should definitely check them out.
But make sure to check out Fleetwood Mac first. Oh, mic drop.
Who's Mike?
In next week's episode, we'll be reviewing the latest music charts along with classical music related interview. Before we drop into our next episode, be sure to go follow our Instagram at MJ_BearTalk. September is Classical Music Month, National Service Dog Month, Suicide Prevention Awareness Month, and more. Stay tuned with us in the coming weeks as we feature these topics and more on the MJ News. If you would like to leave a news tip or would like to hear us feature a topic, drop it in our Dropbox outside B118. Here are a few notices before we catch you on our next episode. We have an away game at Wilson Central. College application week ends tomorrow. See your guidance counselor for more info.
See the latest news on goldenbeargazette.com. Articles are posted weekly. And be sure to follow and subscribe to Bear Talk wherever you get your podcast. That's all we have for you this week. Keep it classy, MJ, and have a very great day.
The song wasn't on.
Good evening, Miss Wilson and Mr. Warrior. The goddess for a meeting, please.
Where is Service Pony Month?
And like I know.
Where is Service Pig Month? Where is Service Monkey Month? Where is Service Crocodile Alligator Month?
I wanted to bark when you said dogs, but I didn't know if I'd get kicked out. Just a little.
You should. Edit that in.
Working dog.
Dude.
A working dog? What does that even mean?
A working dog. A dog at work.
Dog.
Service dog at work.
Gotta make that bread.
Please cut that.
Please.